question now is, each and every one of us, what has been our contributions to ensuring democracy works in Nigeria? I have some friends, male and female. They always call me Baba Nigeria. You know why? Because I, as a person, have decided longest time ago not to japa but to remain here. Despite my opportunities of traveling virtually all over the world and coming back to Nigeria. Because if say I'm living in America now, will I be here today? No. From the nonsense I've been talking since, do you know how many people have been inspired? There are a lot of people that send me messages that I am the one that have been giving them confidence to continue staying in this country when they listen to me on radio or on television. Now, when we started, my lady there said, ensure that you help the person beside you. Help somebody in the society. Help does not come from money alone. Help does not come from borrowing your neighbor, your notebook, your note. It comes from different angles. Look at Shehu. You saw the way Shehu came up here just now, and people were talking about him. He might not be able to know where his energy lies. Why somebody there might know where the energy lies and knows that yes, he can make it be SUG president. And then you now go to him to encourage him and ensure that he gets there. That means you have assisted him. Not only him in society. To ensure that democracy works in our nation, everybody needs to lend a helping hand. Everybody needs to what? Lend a helping hand. You don't leave it for we that have been tagged troublesome alone. Yes, you can see us have been troublesome. But I can assure you, if you can join us, ensure that Nigeria becomes better, then you will know that one voice can never be overemphasized. In one of my articles, I used Ilala Seko because I like Ilala Seko, but then I'm like this man. You know what we call Ilala Seko? Before Ilala Seko can become that sumptuous, finger-licking soup, a lot of things came together. Water, local thing. Maggi. But let me ask you, the person that said Maggi, can you just put one Maggi in your mouth and eat it? No. Can you put oil in your hand and then be eating it? No. Can you take okra seed and then be chewing it? No. But when all those things decide to come together, they become what? Some shots. Rice can never be rice without them backing each other. Yes or no? Because you see one grain of rice, you see another one, you see another one, you see another one. Your bowl is now filled up. You now call a plate of rice. Without those grains backing themselves, can they be? No. So for our democracy to work, for it to work, all of us, we have to work together. Where lies your strength? Is it through encouragement? Where lies your strength? Is it through finance? Where lies your strength? Is it through development of philosophy? Is it by moving people around? Discover yourself and let us all come together so that our democracy, which is supposed to be for us, can work for us. Thank you.
A round of applause for us, Dio. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we'll end our session for today. I want to thank you. Yeah. I hope we're Okay, yes, please. We have sections, but okay. So please, get the question. You can sit. Please, the people with question.
Let's have the question, please. Here, please.
Thank you very much. I have enjoyed this session on the use of data for policy making and the idea that the government must always seek to come up with policies that will deliver the best good for the most population. That has always been the challenge of government. And we seem to have also had the answer from some of the analysis that came. That most of the times, because those people are government think of themselves first, they do not think of people-oriented policies. Or even when they come up with those policies, the implementation of that to deliver the best or the most good. That is to say, they do not optimize the content of the policy. And so that's the problem we have. Now, the other point which came out of this discussion is, how do we engage with government in order that we compel them to come up with a policy and to implement the policy? That is where we have the problem of engagement. Is it by sensitizing ourselves? Is it by mobilizing ourselves? And I think again some of the answers came out. We must stand up. We must be conscious. We must arm ourselves with knowledge. And that's why my friend from the budget is very important. If you say budget, what happens in budget?
No, it's not budget, it's budget.
I'm aware, budget. I know budget. I use some of the information in my own research. In budget, you also know about looking at the data that comes out of national budget, appropriation. Now, that point, budget implementation, when we are allocating resources, either to this road, to this dam, to this educational policy and all of that. So, we have the lack in our own. If it doesn't implement its own policy, there will be trouble. So I think, and I'm happy that.
Sir, please, your name.
When you hear the name.
A round of applause. Thank you. A round of applause. Okay. Okay. We have another person.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
My question is.
Please, your name.
Gladness. My name is Gladness.
Okay.
How do we encourage people that have been downtrodden over the years? We're all here in 2020, I believe, where a bunch of young people went to the toll gates and were killed. So how do we encourage the people? How do we keep encouraging the people that have been downtrodden, severed by the government?
Wonderful question. Do we have any other one? I think that's the only. Okay, this way, please. That's okay. Another question. This is getting interesting. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's why we're here. This is getting interesting.
Yes, I want to ask a question for what Barrister Wadadi said.
Okay.
Okay, how do we get involved? Because there is this timid tendency. If I go out there, if I speak out, what happens to me? So how do we get involved? Now, we want to get involved. But how do we get involved? And what are those things that we get better? But how do we get involved? And how do we take away that timidity, just like one of the speakers, the other panelists talked about? The door is open. How do we access the door with confidence? Thank you very much.
Well, please. Oh my God, that's going to the back. Okay. I think that would be all, sir. Thank you, sir.
There's somebody there. All right.
All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, please.
Okay, so my questions are actually like two in one.
Okay.
So the first is this: you spoke about the revolution, right?
Sorry, we can't hear you.
You spoke about the revolution, right? Revolution.
Okay, revolution. All right.
Yeah. I read about the French Revolution and the English Revolution. So, for example, let's say there are people who are scholars, right? So they read very hard overnight and all. So for that level of result, you work very hard. And that's the, if you say it's going to be a revolution in this country called Nigeria, what is going to be the weight that the people have to pay? and how weighty is that weight going to be? Like the price that is going to be paid, how big is it going to be on us? That's one. And then two, if it's by educating the people, because there's a trend right now. If you're in the know, they buy you over. You get, so I've seen people that they know the truth, but because the government found out, they kind of bought them over, give them lands and a lot of money and all. So actually, the problem is our ignorance and our lack of taking action, right? So if it's not by revolution, if it's by education, who are the people who gather this data? Because if you look at China now, they kind of hide a lot of information today. You don't know what's happening in China at all because the government sensitizes all the information. So you can't even really say this is what is happening or this is not what is happening. If you say it's by educating the masses, the people who gather this data, like let's say our health data, what to spend, what to buy, all this information, who are they and what process should they go through to come out as credible and competent people? Thank you.
Thank you. So, which one are you going for, sir?
You see, it seems as if this is the session everybody has been waiting for. Because all of a sudden, everybody just woken up from. Anyway, I will support you by an example, Barrister. Look at that policy. Patronize Nigeria made. In it. And then you will see Bagadan. You will see what's his name now? Dapabiodun, also wearing Adire. But when they were about to buy vehicles for the National Assembly, why did they patronize Innocent Motors? Why did they allow that humongous capital flight to import vehicles? Go and read about the Asian tigers. It's also another form of revolution. Go and read about it. Then you're going to see how the Asian countries developed. All right? Let me leave that. As regards timidity, allow me to stand up at this point, I beg. Because you see, once there is no amount of rainfall that can wash away the spots of the leopard. No matter how old I am still an Aluta. And Aluta doesn't do that. Aluta always goes up, sleep, just as I am. Aluta continua. Victoria, sir, when you're talking of timidity, yes, some people will be timid. Go and read Nelson Mandela, Long Way to Freedom. Those are my mentors. Thomas Sankara, Gaddafi, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, and Fidel Castro of Cuba. Even though I don't belong to the socialist Marxist, I'm also a capitalist. I'm a capitalist. If you don't work, you cannot eat. Yes. But not that I will be oppressing you with my own capital. No, I must be ready to assist you, make you work for me, enjoy the labor that you are working for me, so that you can work more. Just like Ford. Go and read about Ford in America. That's for the vehicle. Go and read about him. While all vehicles like Chrysler and otherwise lying down, they saw his own, everybody riding it. You know why? He made sure that all his workers that are working for him are not alienated from what they are producing. Abioga, alienation, production alienation. Are you with me? Now, if you're now talking about timidity, we have to. Some people have to. And that is why rice cannot be rice without carrying each other. And I will now give you an analogy. Before you get a prize, don't you pay price? Before you are being awarded the best student in the class, would you read? Burning a candle is the price you have to pay for that price. Because without the cross, there can never be the crown. And that's what we are saying. And meanwhile, even the bishop, they now come up with a song that the way of the cross is rugged. Yes or no? The way of the cross is rugged. Yes. We all went to Tolkien, so people were killed. May their soul rest in peace. May their what? Soul rest in peace. Look at it. A road a road is bad, and every day the passers-by always break their tires, puncture their radiator, and they kept on spending money. What would they do? They will grade the road, yes or no? And then you see a lot of dust, yes or no? Most of those dust, some will fly away, some will hang on the leaf, on the tree, while some will come down. But at the end of the day, what will you achieve? The road will be smooth. So you should also bear in mind, you should always bear in mind, both Christian and Muslim, because I also read the Quran. It wasn't easy for Muhammad, SAW. It was not easy for him. That's why he ran from Mecca to Medina. Yes or no? Yes. Sister Puda, yes or no? He ran from Mecca to Medina. So also Jesus Christ, at a point, he said, Abba, Father, I wish this cup can be taken over me. But that's a let that will be done. That is to say, to get that crown, it must pass through that cross. For Nigeria to survive, for us to get there, we must sacrifice. And that's why since 2015, I wrote on my page, Facebook page, WhatsApp page, I look at my DP there. I put the national flag there. And I said, sacrificing the rest of my life to serve my fatherland.
A round of applause, guys. A round of applause, guys. Right. The room is hot.
When you call, let somebody call my phone now. Since 2015, let somebody call that phone. It's national anthem you will hear. Call it. Brother, call it. 78022. Call it. It's national anthem. Since 2015. So, what sacrifice are you making? Listen, since 2015, I told my kids, I said, guys, the journey is going to be long. I don't know how far it's going to take. But I have to pass through it. It's not for me. It's for your generation and generations to come. What are you doing? Thank you.
A round of applause. Okay. Before we go into the data question, I just want to add a thing or two from these two questions. How do we get involved? My comrade has said a lot, but personally, I have ideas the way I look at things. I don't believe there's anybody that is timid in the race for democracy. Why do I say this? We were at the toll gate, a few persons were killed. What fire did that ignite in you? That's the question I ask people when they ask me. What fire did that ignite in you? How do we get involved? Yes, there are people you think are timid. Youth capacity, we have people who can advocate. If you can't come out and fight, go into the advocacy platforms and do stuff. I don't know if you get me. So there are different levels of engagement. You can be a policy maker like we just. You can be a politician and be a good one. I'm not sure we ever had a good one in Nigeria, so why not be the first? I don't know if you know any. I'll give you $1,000 if you do. But we don't. So why not be the first? Why not be? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because you'll be fighting against over 700 persons in that house. But stand out. If you cannot come out and fight, shout Isoetoe Africa, then stay somewhere, write the books, sensitize these people, talk to them, encourage them, give them the room to understand, like you said, find your strength. If you cannot fight with hand, fight with the brains. That's where I look at it from. So I believe we all have a role to play, but different levels of engagement. With that, we'll take the data question and we'll be all, I promise.
So allow me to stand because everybody has done that. All right, let me just start from where we stopped. So I'm emotional, but since he has said that too, I will just start from there. How do you encourage a downtrodden people? I would say sometimes out of darkness comes the most inspiring stories. So the fact that you ask that question means you want to do something about it, and that's a good place to start. Just continue. Keep thinking on it. The idea will come. What you need to do will come to you. Now, quickly to how we can engage and data. Sarah mentioned about budget data and engaging. There's something we now call the Budget Information Report, BIR. budget implementation report. For now, all the state governments now publish their BIRs on a quarterly basis, every quarter. So you can use that to get information and engage with it. I'm sure about 1 or 2 weeks ago we heard on social media how Dr. Dohati brought out some line items in the Lagos State government expenditure and said you allocated 400 and something billion for the vehicle of the chief of staff, and that cost an upright. So that is what data can do. It gives you the tools, in quote, the bullets to use to engage with the government. Now, in this generation, we have something that previous generations did not have, that is social media. It's a very useful platform. Don't go and defame anybody's character. Please, if you speak based on evidence, people have to speak to the evidence, not you. All right. When Mr. Dohati published his own analysis, you see where the Lagos State government have to come out to start explaining to the public why. Because these were expenditures that were approved. So they have to explain to the people that voted them in, that this is why we spent this money. All right. So please, we have things that, like the BIRs. The federal government also has a BIR, which is not as comprehensive as state governments, but we are trying to advocate for them to disaggregate it, make it much more detailed. So line items like this can be followed. When you see budget performance, okay, my organization is doing an analysis of the current budget, so I don't want to preempt some things, but there was some information that was released, that was said yesterday regarding revenue performance, which, based on the data that we have, may not be accurate. And these are some things that we will bring up and say, okay, maybe you need to review some of these numbers as well, check it again and be sure that, because based on your projections, you are claiming that you can raise a certain amount of revenue in the next year, but the underlying assumptions may be problematic. So these are some ways you can engage, and I think I'll be able to go very fast. And then, permit me to just mention some tools that budget offers. So we have Tracker. Tracker goes around the country monitoring projects that have been implemented or that are supposed to be implemented. We physically verify them. Those that are abandoned, the line item in the budget, and instead it has been approved, it has been spent, it has not been. Or in case where it has been completed, you will say, okay, this project, this is the amount, and it has been completed. And we've had serious engagement over that platform. We also have me.budget.org, where your local government budget, allocation, not budget now, the money that the federal government has released for each local government, 74 local governments across the country, is on that platform. You can go there and engage, and this is not, it brings it more home. You don't have to go to the federal government or your state governor, your local government chairman, who is closer to you, or your councillor, if you know him, you should. Agree them. This is the amount. In the first quarter, we had like over 500 billion naira to these local governments. What have you done with it? Why is it that these portals are not with it? These are much more closer to you, and you can engage with them much more directly. I think I covered all the.
Thank you, everyone, for this session. Oh, you have questions. So to further continue this conversation, you can reach out to any of us on various platforms. We'll share with the organizers, and they will share with you, please. Oh, it's not a question. You want to add? Okay, while we leave the stage, we'll just give you, before she continues, to just say something. Thank you very much, Mr. Dayo, and thank you, Mr. It's been a great session. It's been a great session, and I just want to appreciate both of you. I learned from both of you, and I'm grateful. I hope we learned too. A round of applause for our panelists.
Okay. Good afternoon, my name is Goodman. I'm actually touched by a question, and that was why I remember this popular thing going on now. The lady that is trying to express herself online, she's a popular person, but I'm sure if I mention it, everybody will remember her. And her name is Helen Paul. Yeah. Now she talks about her background and how she has grown. So now that can apply to our country. We all know how this country is. We all know how the country can even help us. Those are the knowledge we have at hand. So the question was, we should have to accept this. Now that I know my country may not really help me, does that mean we should be maybe cowardice, fit on a spot Monday, I learned some certain things. First, we need to encourage ourselves. First of all, we need to be sure of what we can achieve. Because growing up, she felt, oh, she's nobody. She didn't even have a name to herself. Her story was so pathetic. But what did she do? She continued growing. But another thing is that we need to be respectful. She mingled with those people that can bring her up. So when she's respectful, it's easy for you to know that this lady, this girl, she's good at this. And they called her out. And we need to be realistic as well of our expectations. So our growth should be one step after another.